Hello everyone, and welcome to A Theatre Director's Life, a conversation between Yvonne Brewster, OBE, and Lynette, Linton. I'm Pauline Walker from the Alfred Fagon Award, we're the UK's leading award for Black British playwrights. We'd like to say a big thank you to the Black Funding Network who helped raise funds to support today's event. And as you can see, we're filming it, and it's also being live streamed by the team from Black Apron Entertainment. If you're watching on the live stream and would like to ask a question in the Q&A at the end, email it to info@alfredfagonaward.co.uk. So let's get straight to it. What can I say about the two amazing women who are going to share their stories with us about being theatre directors? Yvonne Brewster was Britain's first black female drama student at Rose Bruford College, where she was told that she would never work. How wrong they were. She co-founded the Barn Theatre in Jamaica in 1965 and Talawa Theatre Company in the UK in 1986. She was awarded an OBE for services to the arts in 1993. Lynette Linton is the artistic director of Bush Theatre. Lynette's latest directing project, Blues for an Alabama Sky by Pearl Cleage, is currently playing at the National Theatre. A review in The Stage said that Lynette is most impressive when orchestrating the relational nuances among an ensemble of characters. She uses silence like a weapon. Please welcome a pioneer of Black British theatre, the inimitable Yvonne Brewster OBE, and the director with silence in her arsenal, Lynette Linton.
It's so funny because we were just sitting gossiping in the back, talking loads, and it's just amazing. This is just going to be a bit of a conversation, really, before we hand over for some questions between us, which we've been doing since we met, which is amazing. Hi. I was saying back there, and I'm going to say it again for everybody here, what an honour and a privilege. I get quite emotional because you're such a legend. So to be able to sit with you here, I really believe I'm here because of you, and we are all standing on your shoulders. So thank you so much.
Oh.
Thank you so much for the work that you've done for all of us. I just want to say that. Do you mind starting telling us a little bit about your career?
Okay. I would like to say first, though, she's a very nice lady. Go on, then.
Tell us a little bit about why you wanted to be a theatre director.
You know, as usual, I mess up people's plans because I really didn't want to direct plays. I started directing plays because there wasn't anybody else to do it, you know. It was in Jamaica, from whence I come, and and there were some drama school students that had just left, and we needed some place to do something decent, not just this expatriate nonsense, you know, about for tea and stuff. So we had nowhere to go. We had nowhere to do it. So my father had a very large garage, I have to admit it. And I said to him, Daddy, the cars will be parked in the driveway. We need your garage. And you know, the poor knighted man, he said, well, if you need it. So that was it. And that was the beginning of the Barn Theatre. And Trevor Rowan was one of the people, and Leonie Forbes, and people that really have gone on to do really good stuff. So that was, and nobody wanted to direct. And even at drama school, they wouldn't give me no parts because I was too, you know. And so I was sent round the back. And I saw Johnny Lee, the woman who was organizing the backstage, and she said, what are you doing around here? I said, well, there's no parts for me, and I'm not playing no more maid. And so what am I to do? She said, come, I'll teach you stage management. And then she said, you know, you're asking good questions. You could do directing. So Tom Jones, remember him of the scarf? Tom Jones was also somebody they thought wasn't really up to it either. And so we decided we were going to do St. Joan. And that was how I started directing at drama school, because Tom was marvelous. He walked away with it. But he did ask me for 1 or 2 pointers, and I give it to him. So, so that's how it happened, really,
Wow.
in duo.
Amazing. And when did you set up Talawa? Was that 1980?
Talawa?
Yeah.
Did you say, I'm a bit deaf, right? It's old age, I'm 84 now, so. So when you hear me say,
I was just like working out the journey. So that was what year did you go to Rose Bruford? Rose Bruford, what year was that? 19?
that was, I can tell you exactly. I came to Rose Bruford in I can't tell you exactly. 50-something.
56.
Yeah, and they didn't have people like me at Rose Bruford. And I was given, they didn't even have makeup. And I was put in a corner with some yellow, red, and green, what we call lighter makeup. And the woman doing the makeup said to me, well, you could practice Red Indian. So that's what I did. I walked around with the streets. There was nothing really for me at Rose Bruford at the time. But I learned to do mime, I learned to do stage management, and I learned to take the hard knocks and go behind the stage and learn to see what actors went through and how you could help them by not being in their face, but being behind them. You know, there's a difference. So, simple as that, really. So how did you get it?
Do you know what? You said you think that I felt as well, that I was like, I used to read a lot. And then I was like, I'm not reading a lot of stories that had people like me in it, or I hadn't seen myself on stage. And I didn't go to the theatre that much growing up. No. But I went to uni and did English, and I thought I wanted to be a writer, because I was like, I read James Baldwin and was like, he just completely changed my outlook.
Yeah.
And then I met a guy called Ricky Beadle-Blair. Big up Ricky. People know who Ricky is.
Yes.
He's amazing. And he, do you know what he said when someone said to you, oh, you should think about directing? It was Ricky that said that to me. Because I wrote a play for his Angelic Tales Festival that he used to do at Stratford East. And he said, basically in a nice way, he was saying, you're bossing everyone around in a nice way. Yes. And I was telling people, like, you've got the eye for it. And then I was like, oh, this is really cool. And I'd written this play called Step about a young girl from East London, which is where I'm from, because I was like, every time I hear stories about young black people from London, it was always gang stuff. And I was like, where are our other stories? So I wrote a play called Step that Stratford put on and Ricky directed. And then from then I followed him around. I just basically followed Ricky around, seriously. He used to every time he was rehearsing, I used to just sit in his room and just watch him. And he learned so much from watching, right? Yeah. And then it sort of went on from there.
Yes.
And yeah.
But that's good, the shoulders thing, and it's so important, the support, there's so much other, shall we say, that really, when it's so nice to hear that that sort of support exists,
it's it's so important, and it's something that I try and do in my own, now that I'm in this place, in my own rooms. Like, I always have an open rehearsal room if people want to come and sit and watch.
Yes.
Because that's how you learn, and having mentors and reminding ourselves of who were before us is so important, which is why this is such a privilege to talk to you, because...
Well, it was a different world then, because I remember the first thing I ever directed in this country, and I think I've done about, well, over 50 anyway.
Over 50!
Over 50!
The first thing I did was at a man called Frank Cousins got some money and was able to persuade the Arts Council to give a grant to these 4 black people to actually run a theatre in Brixton. And it was called the Dark and Light Theatre. And they wanted to start, they were all Jamaicans and one Guyanese, I think. And yeah, because Norman was Guyanese. And we had this thing, and he said, well, what we're going to do, we don't have any plays, no plays being written, you see. So there was a nice older Jamaican lady who was very good at knocking up a quick pantomime. And she said, yes, well, we'll do a pantomime. And the pantomime had people queuing round and round and round the block to see themselves on the stage. And it was so magnificent, you know, to see that. And it went on for 4 weeks, and that was 1972. And then, you know, to be not so jolly and happy, and it was the people themselves that ruined the Dark and Light, because they went and said it wasn't good enough, they should have it, and hello, story of my life, and it crashed. Which is a shame, but so we have to learn to be discerning about the poetry. Yeah.
That was amazing. So then what year? So that was 1970, what was that?
No, that was
Trying to put the
1972.
timeline. 1972.
Yeah.
And then you went back to Jamaica?
Oh, yes, always. You have to touch, you know, you have to touch. I am never far from Jamaica because it keeps me in touch with reality. Because it's who you think is? You think you have something to say? Well, hurry up and say it. And that is the best thing that could happen to somebody whose head gets swollen and big, and you think you're so bossy. Well, come, the man, you don't say nothing. All right, go ahead. And that is important, especially if you are a Caribbean person. Well, I mean, I don't know if people from Barbados take it too nicely, really, because they're much more well-mannered than us. They're much better mannered than us. But there you are. That's how it was. You keep your feet on the ground by going home, if you want to say, so that they tell you, you're no big shakes, you know. We started this theatre in Father's garage, as it was, and there were no plays to be done, and that was the beginning of local plays, because before that, there were none. There were none. They used to do English pantomimes with you know, not even in England they were slapping their thighs in those days. But that's what they were doing. And it encouraged people to write their own scripts, because there were no scripts written by Jamaicans or, well, it didn't really matter once there were people from the West Indies. And that started a whole new ball game, really, and a lot of writers that we know now, most of them are no longer with us. But they got an opportunity to put their plays on. Some from Barbados, Guyana, you know, St. Lucia especially. And of course, Derek took a liking. Well, he liked the girls, you know. Derek Walcott, that is. And he came, he helped a lot. It was fine time of support and interesting, forward thinking. Come on, Lynette, it's your turn.
In terms of what would you like? Is that I was piecing together your timeline. So that's where are we now in the 80s, 70s, 80s. You went back to Jamaica and then you came back to the
I've
80s.
come back.
Yeah. For me, I kind of stayed at Stratford East for a long time. As I said, I just followed people around learning, working part-time at John Lewis as well while I was working things out. And then I I wrote a play called Chicken Palace. I applied for some Arts Council funding and then wrote a play and then was like, oh, I really like directing. So decided to direct the play. Yeah. And it was very lucky. Kerry Michael, who was the artist director there at the time, was really nice at kind of just like giving me the space to do it. And that was like, what I always try and say is like, there is space.
Yeah,
people will give you the space. You know what I mean? We give away space here and just go and play and learn. And then I was like, I actually remember this because I was like, yeah, I love theatre so much. I think I want to do it. And I was like, I'm going to have to quit my job, but I didn't have any money. I was living in my mum's house. And then I was like, I'm going to just apply for everything and just keep trying to keep it alive because that's the other problem.
Yes.
So I was working at John Lewis in the day and then staying up at night and like writing and like planning stuff and then working at John Lewis in the day and then staying up at night. And then my boys actually, Black Apron Entertainment, who were filming this, Daniel and Gino, big yourselves up, brat. They are. Actually, two of the reasons why, like, the three of us, we met at John Lewis, which is why the company's called Black Apron, because we used to wear black aprons. And then we used to kind of just like, it was our dream. They wanted to do film and telly. I was like, I want to do theatre. So we used to just big each other up. And that was the other thing, like when you're talking about the people you surround yourself with.
Yes.
That was they were that for me, as well as Ricky and like us going, let's tell our stories. And then I applied for loads of stuff. And then the Gate Theatre finally wrote back to me and said, come and apply for this assistant director role. Yeah. So I got a job as an assistant director there. And then the associate job came up, and I didn't get that. No, that's wrong. I got the assistant job, and I quit John Lewis. And I remember I was saying, like, I put on Facebook, because you used Facebook back then. I put on Facebook saying, like, yo, you lot better feed me, you know, because I'm going to run out of money. Like, I'm not going to be able to. And the boys were wicked at, like, supporting that. And then taking that plunge. I didn't have any money, but it was incredible because then I started to just be in people's rooms. Then I had to start working again because I couldn't afford it. I think I did a bit more work at John Lewis. And then I applied for the associate job at the Gate and got that. And then I was able to slowly move into it full time. People don't talk a lot about like that period where you can't afford nothing. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's so important to talk about that and how hard that is. And even though you know you want to do it, it's not easy. It's hard, right? And money, we know where we are in 2022 with this country in terms of cost of living and stuff. But it isn't easy. And if you haven't got a family that have money, then it's really hard. But it's not impossible.
But look, I can tell you something. Theatre is not easy, no matter even if you have money. If you have money, sometimes it makes it too easy. So you see, I'm a pragmatist, and if you have too much of the world's goods and stuff, you don't actually understand the circle in which you are moving, because for us, and I dare say us, you don't mind, do you?
No.
You know, it's two female director. Them one passed it and one just coming.
You ain't past it, yours.
But it is very important to realize that one has to make one's own circle, one own, and know beyond which you will not go except one step. And that one step is the most important thing, because it's hard. A life in the arts.
Yeah.
A life in the arts, if you're painting or dancing, it is not the easiest life to try. In fact, anybody that try to live a life in the arts, they must really want to. And that push, that determination, that get out of my way, that brutal, actually, it has to be quite, you can't be too nice. If you're too nice, your head gets squashed. And I'm not saying to be horrible, but nice, you know, tea party business. That don't count. If you are a career person, you're in it. And you're in it whether they like it or they don't like it. And believe you me, I have had some rough times, you know. There was a person that wrote a letter to the Arts Council because as far as I'm concerned, buildings are the key. Because that's why I love her, you know, because she's in a building and she's making it her own. And this is great, because without the buildings, which you can determine what goes on in the buildings, you are just tenants. And tenants only have a short period and can throw you out at any time. It, not literally, but metaphorically. And so to work towards having a building, and we started that in the barn in it, and then we did everything that we could to try and get a black theatre building, and we got the Cochrane, and we got a lot of support from all over. Lots of people poured in money. And do you know, I'm not going to be very popular right here, but I am not really very interested in being popular. It's our own community. Here we come. Our own community is the people that wrote to the Arts Council and say, why are they getting everything? I've seen the letters. I nearly died. I couldn't speak for about a week. You see, so we have to learn from that. This is not nice Sunday afternoon stuff. This is reality of living in a situation where you must determine for yourself what the future not should be, but must be. So I'm a politician, really, you know. So it's, you know what I mean. Yeah. But you have to be.
Yeah, you do.
In this business. Yes. I saw Lynette's production at the National. Man alive. What nice is it? It was so lovely. And my God, I thought, oh, I've never had that amount of money to bring on these people as, you know, a sort of wonderful. But it was fleshed out nicely, and those people from the eaves. They had something very important to say, but it was lucky that they could be put in, because in a normal production, they'd be cut. Because there's not money to spend to pay an extra 4 people. Come on, that's a cost usually. So it was really, and we came out of there, you know, and we thought, good Lord, it was quite.
Thank you. That means so
Good,
much.
good.
From you. That means so much coming from you. Blues is. Yeah, I'm just so that show, that team, that company. Is anyone here from Blues? Please. Whoop, whoop! Yo! Hello. Yeah, man. It's a mad thing, isn't it? That it's just love. What we spent so much time doing in Blues, because it's set in 1930. Has people seen it? I'm not gonna. Yeah. All right, cool. Oh, cool. Thank you. It's set in the Harlem Renaissance in 1930, and it speaks so much about people who actually existed at that time. So Josephine Baker, Langston Hughes, Adam Powell, and like as a company, it's what we're talking about, like really respecting and honouring those that came before. Yeah. Because we are speaking about people that existed and changed America. They did. And we sing in the song, that's Langston's poetry, the whole Faster Dreams song. So we're speaking his words, and we're talking about going to parties with him. And it was so important in our space to just like take a second and just feel the ancestors with us and also respect that. We did a bit of a ritual before we opened, because it just means, you know what I mean? This is what I mean about us all just stopping and going, yo, like we come from, there's so many people that have done things before we got here. And that play, I think, one of the reasons why I think it's resonating so much is because of that. Yes.
Good choice. Did they give you a choice?
I knew about Pearl, but he was like, have you read this one? And I hadn't read it. Rufus, who runs the National
Yes.
And I was like, rah. And actually, one of the reasons why I just wanted to do it was because that first half is just 5 black people living and just having joy. Like, they are just it's so funny, innit? They're just having fun and enjoying life. And I hadn't seen that on stage.
Yes.
So, yeah. And then he was like, do you want to do it in the Littleton? And I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah, she's a good playwright, because as I was saying earlier, at Talawa we did a Pearl. We don't know how to pronounce her
that's
name.
what we were saying. I say Pearl Cleage, and
I call her Cleage because that's what I met her in the States, and I will say this is so politically incorrect, but I saw, what is this white lady coming up to me and shaking my hand doing it? But really and truly, from a distance, she looked like a white lady, right? So I didn't know why she would want. And then as she came closer, she said, flying west. She said, you can fix your face, you know. And she's a really nice lady.
Yeah.
And that was about the cowboys in the West, because at a certain time in American history, there were more black cowboys. See, I like historical stuff. More black cowboys than there were white. And in Kentucky, that was certainly the case. And Flying West is about the cowboys trying to survive, you know. And it's quite a political play, just not quite as large or homogenized or anything as the one at the Nash, but it's a small play, 7 people in it, and it is a daggers. It's a tough play. It's a tough play. I'm not too sure I even still understand it after all this. I go back to it sometimes and I say, you made a big mistake there, girl. Which you do sometimes, don't you?
So do you have a favourite play that you've directed?
Yeah. Yes, I do, actually. Oh Lord, here it comes. But I love King Lear. King Lear is the play that takes your soul away. It takes your sense away. And it takes your security away. But wait, girl, that's poetry. I didn't mean to be. I've never said that before. But it's, you know, that is so emblematic of the human condition, the familial condition. And it was Norman Beaton, some people in this room might remember Norman Beaton, who, and we always in Talawa, we used to try and do plays that the senior actors wanted to do. So when Mona Hammond said she wanted to do The Importance of Being Earnest and do Lady Bracknell, I said, well, yeah. And the Arts Council said, are you mad? I said, yeah. And she did it and made a Lady Bracknell that nobody will ever, ever forget, you know. So it was the same thing with the King Lear, with Norman wanting to do King Lear. And he said, I must do King Lear before I die. It's a really sad story, this. And I said, Norman, we are here to serve. We will do King Lear. And Norman said, I just have to go to Guyana first. And he died. So I had to recast in 1 week. Master Lord, King Lear, you know. But I really, the play speaks to all people. And I think, yes, as Wole Soyinka says, you know, his name don't name Shakespeare, you know. Him name Al Shapir. Of course, Wole says, no, that's an Arab that wrote those plays. So it's a joke, but, you know, you take it on. And also, I'm very lucky with these larger-than-life characters because Wole Soyinka was there. He always backed me up and helped me and quietly whisper in my ear and stuff. And Derek Walcott on the other ear. Now, two more different Nobel Prize winners you could never, ever imagine. Derek Walcott and Wole Soyinka. I mean, they wouldn't even speak to each other, you know. They're so different. But for my luck, and I can only consider it to be actually luck, both of these men decided that they were going to help me. Praise the Lord. That was important. And the other person that helped me was Ntozake Shange. Ntozake Shange was one of the brightest women I've ever met in my life. Do you know Ntozake Shange? Yeah, for colored girls only and stuff. And I thought, why? Because I couldn't even understand what she was saying. Her accent was so, you know, so immense. But she helped. And she came over here and did a one-woman show at the Cochrane for me. And she said she did it for me. Well, it wasn't for me, it was the audience, right? But we did it, and she was brilliant. Dance, sing, move. And then Jean Binta Breeze took over from her. And that was That was the seeing the not so obvious. So, you know, it's a lovely life if you don't weaken. And it's very easy to weaken because there's so much out there that will try to weaken you. But not this girl. What do you think?
I think it's amazing. I read King Lear. I did King Lear at my English A level, and I remember it's such an incredible play. That was probably one of my favourite Shakespeare plays.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
Really, I've proper you know when you study Shakespeare and really get into it. That was the play that I did that with more than the others, and it's really.
Some of them are not so hot, you know. Some of them are.
Yeah, and you can say that, innit?
Some of them not so
people
hot.
are scared to say that. Like some of Shakespeare's stuff and some.
Yeah, I'm entitled to say that. Just because Shakespeare don't mean it have to be hot.
Yeah.
But some of them are fantastic.
Yeah.
And a Shakespeare sonnet is a thing that can save your life. You know. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediment. Love is not love, which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. It goes on for another 10 lines, but I wouldn't bore you. Yeah, Shakespeare is my guy. I like Shakespeare.
I like Shakespeare as well.
And I like, who else? Who else is your favorite?
So, in terms of like my favourite play that I've done, obviously Blues is up there, but Sweat by Lynn Nottage was like my thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. Sweat. So Lynn Nottage is someone who I'm in awe of her. She's amazing, and she just did the MJ musical, which is sick. It's coming. It's so. Have you seen it? Wow. Wow. It's coming to the UK in 2024, so it's really good. So Lynn Nottage I love her. And I've mentioned James Baldwin, but
Yes.
he's my guy.
James Baldwin. Oh, I knew we had something in common.
Listen, I'm telling you.
James Baldwin. Oh,
is genuinely like changed my life.
yes.
Reading him.
Really?
Yeah. It was what made me write my first play. I studied him at uni, which was amazing because I think they've got rid of that module now. And I remember reading Fire Next Time.
Yes.
And Another Country, actually, and just being like,
Another country. Oh, Giovanni's Room.
Giovanni's Room! Oh my God, that should have said that first.
Yes, it's fantastic.
I can't, that book, it's incredible.
I
right?
met him, you know. Hey.
What?
Yes!
Did you?
Yes!
When?
Yes. And he. Okay. I did mime, so let me try. Okay. He kind of went, so hello. Something like that, you know? And, but it was a tricycle when they were doing, I think it was Amen Corner. And he was there.
Wow.
And we met on the stairs. And me, no, I can't resist. Hear me? I can't ask you for your autograph, you know, because that is so kind of cheap, isn't it? Come here, girl. Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
Giovanni's Room, though.
That book.
That book. That book will.
Yeah. I always asked whether or not it had been done for stage. I think it's been done once. But I always wondered like what that would be. And I remember when I used to do those early interviews, people would say to me, what would you want to do? And I was like, Giovanni's Room.
Giovanni's Room.
On stage.
Yes.
Because that could be so interesting.
Well, you're a big thing now.
Yeah, man, that's it. Yeah, so
Yeah.
he's the, and also like just to shout this place out. I think the people coming through here. So some of you might have seen Red Pitch, Terrell Williams, that guy. Like he's some of the up and coming incredible Black British talent that is coming through at the minute. Red Pitch was next level. Terrell Williams. He's watch out for his next play. It's going to be amazing. So there's a couple of So.
Yeah, you know what? I'm sitting here thinking, when I was doing my first play in this country, you were just born. Please, ladies and gentlemen, you realize that? It's true, isn't it? Because I must have got it right. Dark and Light, 1976, was it? 3? Was she when him born then?
What do you mean? You're about to say
When him born then. What? Look at. Oh, we've been told we're chatting too much.
We're talking too much. Okay, 5 minutes. Wow.
No.
Oh, sorry.
Something 30 years ago.
Yeah.
What was it? Oh, must be when I start Talawa.
Talawa was
Oh, God.
1985,
Anyway,
86?
yeah.
90.
1985.
85. I wasn't born then.
Hey, she's so young.
Because we've only got 5 minutes left. I know
Oh,
there
5
was
minutes left. We've been given.
Before we go do a Q&A though, yeah? Okay. I've got a question here about 2 things. Moving into TV and also advice to up-and-coming directors.
TV.
How was moving into TV?
I can't stand TV, to tell you the truth, but then one has to live. And I think TV is a very powerful instrument. I would say discipline, whatever. But TV takes, a lot of TV, although it's getting a bit better, takes the heart out of the actor. And and what an actor is trying to portray, the camera is busily denying it in a way. But I've worked in TV. I had to work when I was really broke. I did 2 years in doctors. 2 years as Nurse Ruth in doctors. Lord help me. That was the worst time in my life. But it paid. Yeah. It paid really well. And I was a regular. And so I got big money every week. And I did it for 2 years. But it was just what you didn't want, because it was day soap. But you can't knock it because it fitted. It helped you when you needed help. And it was round about the time that I wanted to leave Talawa anyway. I thought I'd done enough. I think it's very important, to decide when to skip off. You have to skip off when they want you to stay. Don't wait till they want you to go. You say, oh, she's gone. Do a Boris Johnson. So,
I really hear what you mean about the, particularly coming from theatre, moving into TV, and the way you work with actors. It's so hard. It can be so hard. I've only done one thing for telly, but having 4 weeks of rehearsal where you can just be like, let's look at this line and understand why you say it and really dig deep into characters.
Yes.
And then going onto a set and you've got 5 minutes and you just have to go. You know?
Yeah.
I said I won't do it unless you give me rehearsal, and they did. They gave me rehearsal, which was amazing. But that was because the lead was a little boy. But I said I won't do TV unless they let me rehearse with actors. So that's why I'm not doing much TV.
But you see, you have to live.
It's true.
I mean, people don't know what theatre don't pay, you know.
Yeah.
Hello. So you have to, telly is easy money, really.
Yeah.
Really. But it's not so easy when you go home and you think, I don't want to smash up the furniture. Look, I have one thing to say before I expect we're going to have to finish now. When I did my first TV, okay, it was in this country. It was, the director said, you, yes, you, just walk through shot the way you people do. So, me no. I come from Jamaica. I'm feisty. So I put on one something. I walked through shot and lost the job. But, no, man, they can't, the way, you see, the walk through shot is okay. But the way you people do, no, me different from her, no. No. So it is a matter of being able to maintain a situation where you can look yourself in the mirror without too much hiding, because sometimes you have to hide. Pauline is getting up.
I feel really bad because this is such a fantastic conversation, but we don't have a lot of time today. So this has been wonderful. But has anybody got any questions that they'd like to ask our two fabulous women? Can we have the lights on?
Give it to her door. Go on, man.
Dame Yvonne Brewster.
Oh, Lord of mercy.
You've worked with the great and the good, and you've worked with the young and the bold.
Yeah.
What is your legacy?
My legacy? Yes. We're not done yet. Yes.
Dame Yvonne, I'd love to ask you, who is your favourite person to work with? And if you're bold enough, you're feeling bold enough, who is your worst?
Who?
They're going to dim the camera, they're going to switch the lights off at this point, so you can tell us, no one's going to hear.
Oh, what do you want me to say? Answer now.
Cut that bit, it's all right.
What do you want to know?
So your most favourite person to work with?
Most favorite person to work with? Mona Hammond.
Oh. Why?
Because with Mona, her process was so fantastic that you learned every day about unearthing a script. She was
A legend.
That's the person. I like her.
Who's your worst?
They want to know who your worst is as well, if you want to share. The worst person, if you don't have to.
If I want to share.
Who was your worst person?
The worst person?
For whatever reason.
No, me not go there. No. I won't do that because actually I've been very lucky. I did have one young man who came in to be an actor, and he was really a dancer, and he was sort of pirouetting through the whole play. And I kind of found a way of making him pirouette out the stage. But he was misguided. You see, you have to love your actors. You have to really love your actors because they go through hell. They go through absolute hell. And to expose themselves night after night after night under the lights. You see, it's all right for people like me once in a blue moon. But every night, people, it's a very difficult job. And so, no, they deserve what they get.
Any more questions?
If you can hear me from here, yeah? I had a question for both Yvonne and Lynette. For you, Lynette, you use silence as a weapon. Can you elaborate on that? And then for Yvonne, what you mentioned about actors. Can you speak about any advice that you have for actors nowadays coming from drama school?
What I think about
Advice for
advice.
actors coming.
Go, you go first, girl.
Silence is a weapon. Who said that? The stage. Is it? I'm gonna take it. No, it's well, I think it's because they said that about blues. Yeah. The text is. I'm very text led in how I work, so it's all about objectives and understanding, and I think in that silence is as important because silence speaks sometimes more than words. So once you really understand character and once you understand what people want, you can say so much more without saying anything. And I think one of the things that Pearl's writing does actually, particularly in the second half of that play. Have you seen Blues? Not yet. Oh yeah, I'm gonna ruin it for you if I say what I'm about to say. No, there's something about the people that have seen it might understand what I mean here. There's something about the second half of that play. It goes. The first half is an hour and a half, and the second half is an hour. And she doesn't say she doesn't overwrite it, if that makes sense. There's so much because she set so much character up. That in that second half, you can just go. And you have to be bold with it and just be like, yo, we know that these two love each other, and we can see that with them just looking at each other. And I think you need text to do that. And once you've got the text, then you can really rely on saying nothing.
Yeah.
And how much of the rehearsal process did you take mining that text? All the way through, or was it?
I'm looking at Helly because she was there. Helly's in Blues. It was. I normally do a week of table work, where we do where we break it down into units and do units and questions, and then we put them up on the wall. And then so by the second week, most of the actors have done quite a lot of intellectual thinking, and then you mirror that with physical work. So then when they get on their feet, they've got all of that. They think they know. They do know what the characters are saying and what they're doing, and then we just physicalize it. Does that make sense? But I always spend a week just on text, always, no matter what play it is, because there's so much. When you get a good play, you could spend 5 weeks on text, sitting around a table. So yeah, it's That's all right. I hope that. The silence is a weapon thing's cool though. I'm gonna use that. I didn't know that's what they said. I like it.
Oh, you're coming to me. It'll be short, sweet. You know, I like Shakespeare. So I go back to him for a lot of stuff. To thine own self be true, and it must follow as the night, the day. Thou canst not then be false to any, and I won't say man, I'll say person.
Can I ask you about the legacy of Una Marson and Sylvia Wynter, and to what degree you knew about their work when you were starting out? Because they, of course, have come before you. And I wondered, when you came to Britain, did you have knowledge of their work?
Somebody help me. What did
Una Marston and Sylvia Winter.
Una Marston and Sylvia Winter.
Una Marston.
Yes.
Oh, she's on right now on telly tonight. Una Marston. What woman? She fought the BBC. She fought everybody. She was up here in the 50s, well, 40s too. Her poetry is fantastic, and thank God, she had to wait until she was no longer here for her recognition. So one hopes that in the environment in which we now live and breathe and have our semi-being, that she would appreciate the fact that now she is a person to be reckoned with. But when those early days at the BBC, when she fought for women's rights and stuff, fantastic. And one should go out and buy a Una Marston book and read the poetry. Nice. Old-fashioned. But what's to do with fashion? You know? I don't know if I've answered your question, my darling.
Just got
Nice
one
try.
more question. Do you want the microphone?
Yes, please. Okay, good evening. Question for Yvonne. Hi. Earlier on, you talked a bit about some of the challenges that you faced with Dark and Light Theatre and then later on at the Cochrane. How did you overcome some of those challenges that you faced?
Not sure I did. You become a different person. But you weren't put on this earth to give in. No. So you have to twist the inevitable and make it the evitable, if you like. And so, Lord, it's hard, love, but it's a hard life. Nobody promised you an easy life, really. And I think the secret of it could be in the support that you have at home, around you. I have one or two really good friends, and I have a very loyal husband. And that is part of it, that you can, it's hard, because you're not supposed to do things. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to walk through shut. Difficult. I'm sorry. That's all I can say.
No, thank you. Thank you very much.
So before we say thank you to Lynette and Yvonne, obviously I think a lot of people know about the sudden death of Josephine Melville. So actually, for us here today, we would just like to actually dedicate this event to her. Josephine was an actress, she was a director, producer, writer, and she was an archivist of Black British theatre. She was well loved and respected and is going to be truly missed. I know Annie is here, and I think Annie would like to say something at this time.
Thank you. Hi. Josephine's passing has been an enormous shock to so many of us. Only 2 weeks ago, we were honoring Mona Hammond. Josephine and I and Mona toured America doing Shakespeare, Black Macbeth. And to honor Mona, we did the Three Witches scene with Martin Laird. And we talked about Mona, and we talked about the trip that we had. And there were so many people in that dressing room. Carmen Monroe, Doreen Blackstock, quite a few of us. And we said, we can't wait until people have passed before we honor them.
Truly.
We have to honor them whilst they are alive, so
Amen.
that they know how much we love them,
Amen.
how much we care about them. And the whole lot of us in that dressing room made a WhatsApp group. And we started talking about the people that we were going to honor, starting with Mona, Carmen Monroe, Corinne Skinner-Carter, Yvonne Brewster, and so on. We have to say their names whilst they're still alive and they can appreciate it. So it was a huge shock. The one thing I can say, we all say, is that at least she was, till the very last moment, doing something she loved.
Truly.
She loved being in the theatre. She loved being an actor. She was a fantastic dancer. We were also confused and hurt that Joe Martin put on one of our WhatsApp group, I can't bear it, let's meet. So we went to Theatre Royal Stratford East yesterday, and we had our own 9 nights for Josephine. And people just came, and we had Josette Bushell-Mingo, Paulette Randall, Doreen Blackstock, Claire Perkins. Claire Perkins arrived, and she said, I couldn't sleep. The only thing I could do is cook. So she came with 2 trays of pasty. And we ate and we drank, and we talked about Josephine and how much we cared and loved her. We were so busy talking, all of a sudden a glass smashed. And I went, we didn't do any libation for Josephine. So we all did a libation and called out her name. And for me, that was what it's about. Her people, her tribe came together. I haven't named all the people who came because they were coming in bits and pieces. Some came and then they left and other people came. But we are a community. We love each other, we work for each other, and we loved Josephine. Josephine Melvin, rest in peace.
So all that remains is to say thank you to Dame Yvonne, thank you to Lynette, Linton, and thank you for coming, and thank you for watching on the live stream, and we'll see you another time.